Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to EarlyBirds Weekly Explorer webinar. My name is Chris Poria. This webinar series is run by EarlyBirds team to promote disruptive leaders, especially innovators, mostly focused on startups and scale-ups who have a minimum viable product or more. Today we have Tan Huing and Adrian Quito. Tan is co-founder and CEO of Detexian. He is a Stanford MFA. Tan comes from an investment advisory background and has provided strategic advice to some of the largest global companies across Europe, Asia, and Australia. Tan is passionate about making cybersecurity simple so business people can understand and care about it and get better at sharing cybersecurity responsibilities with especially IT and security team. Adrian is also a co-founder as well as CTO of Detexian, a leader in ID, AM, and cloud technologies. Adrian has consulted some of the largest cloud-first enterprises in Australia and New Zealand. Adrian is passionate about enabling shared cyber responsibilities between business and IT. Just a little bit about Detexian is a single pane of glass across Office 365, Google Suite, Atlassian, Salesforce, and other platforms. It detects critical user misconfigurations, audits software as a service permissions, and more. This means Detexian eliminates software as a service risk blind spots and gives you peace of mind you need to run a safe IT operations. With Detexian, regulatory compliance is made easy. You can generate audit reports to demonstrate evidence of control effectiveness over time that your auditors and regulators want. Attendees, please share your questions through the chat box while we are talking. I'm handing over to Tan. Over to you, Tan.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks, EarlyBirds, for the opportunity to present Detexian. I am Tan. I am CEO and co-founder of Detexian. I will be walking through a short presentation deck. Hopefully, it will give you a better overview about Detexian. And then my co-founder, Adrian, will do a bit of a demo, and then we're going to end up with Q&A. So Detexian simplifies SaaS security. We are a venture-backed security startup headquartered in Melbourne, Australia. As more businesses adopt SaaS solutions such as Office 365, Salesforce, G Suite, and the like, it's become very challenging to keep track of who's got access to which SaaS apps and at what level of privileges, who's sharing data externally, and are there any users who are logging in without multi-factor authentication? Is sensitive data flowing between apps? These so-called blind spots are particularly pronounced among small and medium enterprises, SMEs, our target customers. Traditional SME security, such as antivirus, firewall, and proxy, is no longer adequate to protect the modern workplaces where sensitive data is stored inside the 10 and 20 SaaS solutions. Modern SME security requires oversight of users' access privileges and security configurations. A simple but essential control, for example, is MFA for users' accounts. And it's that modern security for SMEs is what Detexian is all about. This is not just to keep SMEs safe. It keeps them in compliance so that they can continue to do business with large customers who are now requiring more stringent procurement due diligence, and for the SMEs to avoid fines. Detexian is the solution for SME security assurance needs. We continuously audit SaaS platforms for users' permissions, eliminates user security misconfigurations, and make compliance easy. Our customers are SaaS-powered companies between 100 to 1,000 information workers, and also the SMEs in regulated industries between 20 to 200. The blue group, SaaS-powered companies between 100 to 1,000 information workers, their pain point is about having blind spots over multiple SaaS apps. The other group of the target customers, on the right-hand side, the SMEs in regulated industries who are smaller in size, they have little in-house security capabilities, and we help them making compliance easy. So in terms of case studies, these two are representative of the two groups we serve. Les Mills is a global 500-person workout program producer. The head of technology, Anthony Knowles, delivers a consistent IT experience to his global staff via SaaS. And Anthony, before Detexian, Anthony had to manually audited all the SaaS platforms to ensure that he had everything covered from a security and compliance perspective. But still, there were blind spots over the multiple SaaS apps, such as inactive and unused accounts, such as accounts that were meant to have MFA turned on, but they weren't. So we help Anthony stay on top of all the SaaS apps and ensure the resource and SaaS spend are optimized. For SMEs in regulated industries, Lab Group is an example of a company which is 25-person company providing KYC solutions to large financial institutions. Lab runs a very lean in-house or almost very little in-house IT security capabilities. But Labs is inundated with security assessment requests from large customers. And it's that Detexian helps Lab with, providing evidence of and proof of security control for SaaS apps which host business critical and customer sensitive data. So Lab can solidify customer trust and land bigger deals as it reaches to different industries and verticals while it expands globally. We offer flexible pricing plans so customers can pick what they need and realize the value they pay for immediately. The starter pack is about access oversight, always staying on top of who's got access to which SaaS apps, with what level of privileges, as well as any changes. The standard pack in the middle adds authentication oversight on top. And authentication oversight is about whether users log in or with or without MFA and SSO. Then on top of those, there's additional oversight such as inactive and unused accounts, which is about SaaS spend and license optimization. External data sharing and third-party apps integrations, which is about data sharing oversight. The professional pack includes all capabilities and gives you peace of mind you need to run a safe IT operation. We currently cover 17 major business SaaS applications. There's also a significant number in the development pipeline requested by our customers. Detexian is a venture-backed security company based here in Melbourne. Our mission is to make security simple for business people so that they can understand and care about it and get better at using SaaS securely. This year, we are honored to be featured in the 2020 Sector Competitiveness Plan as a case study for SaaS security and export capabilities by Cyber, Australia's peak body for cybersecurity. We are also proud to be part of IMAC Accelerate by IAG. Our vision is to set the global standard for SaaS compliance and optimization, so every business relying on SaaS would be able to configure their SaaS apps securely and cost efficiently at all times. With Detexian, you can start your 28-day free trial. You'll get a SaaS security posture executive report, giving you an overview of your SaaS security, what's good, bad, and ugly, as well as to the continuous monitoring portal, which Adrian is about to demo to you.
Thanks for that, Tan. I'll just quickly share my screen now. So when you sign up to Detection and onboard, the first thing you do is you land on the Add SaaS board, Add SaaS screen, and this is basically where you add your SaaS to our platform. When we need API keys in order to connect in, and this can be a scary term for people who obviously don't work a lot with these sort of technologies. So we actually have a dedicated onboarding setup guide in each SaaS, which has a video for people to watch, step-by-step instructions, and screenshots all the way through. One of the big things that Detection does is that we take least privilege to the nth degree. So one of the key things that astute people looking at these setup guides will say is that we are only accessing read-only rights to it, and then also that we're asking for things like mailbox settings read only, but never actually access to the content data. When you'd created the API key and then onboarded it here, you'd press test and confirm, and then you'd it takes 15 to 30 minutes for our SaaS first run to run. What we normally recommend is that people add 2 or 3 SaaS from these available SaaS, and then they click to go back to the dashboard. When they load back on the dashboard, they'll see 4 panels on the dashboard. The one that gets most eyes for us is the permission status. So this is the information about your enabled, your privileged, and your highly privileged users. And to explain these terms, enabled users is just how many users you have set up in your environment. Privileged and highly privileged users are your top, your admins, your super admins, your global admins, your administrator, accountant, Salesforce, for example. Privileged user is any user who has rights to move or change user or system configuration data. So any user, and the big thing with highly privileged users is that they generally have the ability to change themselves. So if we were to delve into, say, Office 365, for example, we would see here that we have some users. Now, they're all in black because these people and users and changes haven't changed, but you'll see that we track roles both between highly privileged, for example, Christian or myself, as well as privileged users being Tan, as well as that we've also got this role called disabled privileged user, disabled highly privileged user. So when a SaaS can disable a user's account, and then when they get re-enabled, they maintain their roles, we track that as an exception. Now, when I said changes there, one of the key things that we do is that we actually deliver drift. So this column down the right-hand side is any changes in the last 28 days. So if we click into SendGrid right here, you'll see that Tan is the owner of our SendGrid account, and he's a highly privileged user, and Nitesh, one of our developers, has been in there and been doing some changes around this in order to trigger off some drifts, which will expire in a couple of days' time. Once we get off the permission status screens, we get into our policy exceptions. So our policy exceptions are done per SaaS, and the one that we try and do everywhere is disabled and unenforced MFA. So disabled and unenforced MFA is, for example, as I said, is on a per SaaS. Now this becomes a very big wall of text very, very rapidly with a lot of user accounts. So we have the ability to search on the screen. So we can search on a per user basis. For example, we could find myself. We could also find on a per application basis, or we can also search on the ability to based on the privilege type. One of the key ones that we do is that we bring through is if the SaaS has the ability to describe the status of the MFA, it will bring it through. So for example, here we bring through the status of not enforced because these accounts are in a Salesforce tenant. They have MFA turned on, but they don't actually have a policy applied to them that can turn it. So which means if they elect, they could turn it off. After this, we display different exceptions based on SaaS. So non-federated users, for example, people who centralize their identity to Office 365 or Okta, global settings drifters for Zoom, some of the others. The two ones that get us the most attention in the market at this point in time are the user-created external mail auto forward. Now, this is a really common breach and attack vector, and also a common way to lose data from your organization. And what this is that we've got users. So this dodgy guy called Adrian has been creating email in our labs, which is our UAT and test environment, and he's forwarded his email to Adrian at detection.com, and this was done 47 days ago. And this is a really risky behavior in an organization, because I'm a highly privileged user in that. So what this means is I'm actually forwarding all my email that comes into my email address out to a different email address, which is either a way people do to basically steal data from your company, or that hackers will do to basically what's called a business email compromise. The other one that gets a lot of attention for us is external sharing. People really badly want to know what their users are doing. Oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong one there. People really badly want to know what their users are doing in the SaaS. And so external sharing is anyone who's sharing data outside of the organization, and then what we track is both the direct sharing and anyone with the link sharing. So you can see here in Office 365 that I've shared anyone with a link, a document called Office 365 test share document. And when we get across to G Suite, I've done exactly the same. I've purposely shared documentation outside the organization in order to seed this. And then what we do is we track this and keep this as a rolling 28-day change. So I talked before about everything being 28 days. So the last box that we do here is that we have this activity log, and the activity log for us is history over time. So we track all permission status changes into the activity log, and then what this allows you to do is actually go back in time and see what the permission statuses were in past. So this log is, if I keep scrolling long way back. Well, that's only going back to November. It's just there's too much data, so I can't show that anymore. But we could actually use that to go all the way back to February when this tenant was developed. And so that's pretty much our platform and our portal at this point in time.
Great. So thank you very much, Tan and Adrian. Good work. I think you have gone from pretty high level to pretty deep, just to showcase, your capabilities. So really appreciate that. Everybody, please, type your questions in the chat box. In the meantime, so we got our first question, Tan. In an enterprise with multiple business units, a central technology function may not be aware of its shadow technology procured and used by individual business units. How do you address the shadow technology problem?
Yeah, Chris, so Detexian is about the SaaS platforms that the business has said yes to. So it's not we are not about shadow IT. Like a CASB product, we are actually about security configuration management for those critical SaaS apps that across the business units they have said yes to, right? So Office 365 for the entire business's sort of email suite, and then Salesforce for CIM, Pipedrive for CIM, Xero for accounting, finance, and so on. So what we find is that all these SaaS apps have great security controls, but most often they're not turned on. Or when they were set up perfectly, and then they drifted over time. The security controls go out of whack and not consistent with their corporate governance and their policies. So it's that on an ongoing basis. Whenever something steps out of the norm, we bring it back in by detecting and highlighting that issue to customers. So I hope that answered the questions.
Yeah, I think this will be useful even for the IT as well, or all the business units, because you can bring all these things together with your platform, so that there's no security issues with any of the SaaS product they're using, right?
Correct, Chris. In the we say in modern workplaces, It's no longer IT that centrally controls everything. It's the business units that procure and manage SaaS apps themselves. Right? They have ownership of the apps. They have management rights of the apps. And Detexian gives the exec level the ability to have oversight across all these apps without controlling them, right? So if you think about what we do at a higher level, it's about giving the insights into the good and the bad, the ugly across the SaaS footprint, so that the people in charge of IT and corporate data security, they can lean in when they need to. Some teams require a little bit more hand-holding. Some teams are more inept with security and they don't need so much hand-holding.
Great. So thanks, Brett, for your question. Our next question coming from Tom. Would the detection also work in public sector with firewall setup?
Yeah, I'll answer that. Yes, basically. So when on slide 2 of when Tan was presenting, he talked about the traditional security was endpoint firewalls and corporate networks and proxies. Yes, our tooling still works in environments that have still got that, because fundamentally SaaS, software as a service, are actually running out in the cloud. So we're able to connect from our endpoint directly into the SaaS. You can't run a SaaS tool inside your own network. It's basically always run out in the cloud. So we always have the ability to connect to it, and always the ability to assess its posture. There could be one question there, is they talk about running against their own internal systems. No, we don't do internal. We don't do bespoke systems. We only do the professional software SaaS providers.
Okay. So do you mean, just to clarify that, Adrian, do you mean that your software can sit behind the firewall within a customer, but then you can look through those software as a service solutions going outside to the end technology provider and look into their SaaS environment directly, right?
Yes, but we don't sit behind a firewall. We ourselves are a SaaS delivery model. So we are hosted in AWS. So our platform runs as a SaaS model itself. So we basically connect from one public cloud to another cloud. So there's no firewalls at all involved in the conversation.
No problem. Thank you. Thanks, Tom, for your question. Our next question coming from Joe. How big is the market for this type of software? Most probably a SaaS leakage solution, I would say, cybersecurity solution. And it's growing, and is it growing quickly? So how big is the market, and what's the growth rate for these kind of solutions?
Yeah, so when it comes to SaaS is the biggest component of the cloud market. As we all know, I think it's in the order of $200+ billion and growing at a 2-digit growth rate every year. Now, when it comes to SaaS security, this is an emerging market, and it is a natural extension of what is called a cloud security posture management market, which Gartner kind of coined probably 2 or 3 years ago. And that cloud security posture market was led by companies like Redlock, Evident.io, Dome9, and I think in Australia, Cloud Conformity, which have all been acquired by larger players in the ecosystem. The issues that those players solved in the public clouds, making sure that all the accounts followed good security configurations, and if they're not, what to do to remediate them. Those issues are exactly the same issues as you see in SaaS, or you could experience in SaaS platforms, but they weren't solving for those in SaaS apps. So Detexian is one of those startups, quite a handful of them in the world that are doing it at the moment, and we estimated. And what's special about us is that we, as a company, we go after SMEs and business users. We're all about making security simple for business users, so they get better at doing that. And we don't rely on security teams to deliver security for SaaS for organizations. Whereas our competitors tend to go for security teams and very very security savvy people, and we're all about business people. So the market for us, we've estimated, is in the order of $1 billion plus. If you just take into account small and medium enterprises relying on SaaS around the world, in the US, in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore and Southeast Asia.
Great. No worries. Thank you, Joe, for your question. The next question coming from Jeff. The data you capture for your customers, where is this stored and how long do you keep it for?
So I'll answer this. So hi, Jeff, thanks for the question. So the data that we capture for our customers, so quickly on that, we only ever capture user and system configuration data. So we never actually have access to the corporate data. So even when we do things like external sharing and things like that, we're only taking metadata and configuration data. Where is this stored? So it's all stored in AWS at this point in time. So we have AWS set up. So every organization ends up with their own tenant of our platform running inside AWS. And all your keys and everything are encrypted with AWS KMS Manager, and the data is as well. And the only way to decrypt it is actually connecting in via the front end, and user identity is managed by Auth0. So with a signed bearer token from Auth0 is when you can decrypt your data. And then the last question is how long do we keep it for? Sorry, my video just cut out. Apologies. And how long do you keep it for? We actually keep the raw data for 28 days so that we can do the drift and the changes. When things are written to the activity log, i.e. something has changed or a misconfiguration has been detected, we keep that forever, or as long as the time that you're a paying customer of our client, of our product, because we need to be able to provide you that evidence for your due diligence and for your auditors.
Great. Thank you. And thanks, Jeff, for your question. The next question coming from Suren. And I think I might be confused with one word, but let's try this one. What differentiate your model from what is, I think it's currently provided by SaaS providers and cloud service providers? So what differentiate your model from what is the currently provided by SaaS providers and cloud service providers?
So thanks for the question, Suren. So what differentiates our models by the SaaS providers? For some of the SaaS toolings, they have the same feature sets and things like that, what we're doing. So Office 365 and Google, for example, both have excellent security tooling and models built into them. The big problem comes with is reconciling that data between that product and another product like Atlassian or Salesforce, for example. None of those toolings actually have the ability to reach into other SaaS. So what we're doing is we're extending the product set across multiple SaaS, and we're able to do cross SaaS correlation. So an example of that, say for example, if Tan left us today, we'd disable his G Suite, but actually knowing that his Slack and his Atlassian account, for example, were disabled as well, we wouldn't be able to do just by looking into those excellent tools that are inside G Suite. And how do we differentiate from the other cloud service providers? Well, the other cloud service providers, I presume at this point in time, you're talking about AWS, GCP, and Azure. So we don't actually cover those. So that's the product set that Tam was talking about before, which is the Cloud Security Posture Manager market, which is the Gartner segment, and it's like the Redlock, the Evident.io, and Dome9 market, and they have tooling that solves those guys.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, we solve problems for SaaS apps, and we unify varying security models across different SaaS and bring it to a common lexicon, and then consolidate the views across all these boards into one single pane of glass. So security for SaaS should be significantly simplified for you.
Great. Thank you very much, Tan and Adrian, for your time today. We're just, I think, done with our time. So we really appreciate your time, and nice talking to you again. And hopefully you will have some more inquiries through this webinar. And enjoy your Christmas and Happy New Year. Hopefully we catch up very soon in the new year.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you again for the opportunity, and thanks to the audience for listening in. Don't forget to access your trial and contact us at trials@detexian.com. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers. Bye.